Hi everyone, Rod Armande, immigration and personal injury attorney, doing a quick video to go over how we have gotten word that interviews for marriage-based green cards and children based on those marriages will be coming back by USCIS. So everybody is going to most likely be called in for an interview during the past administration. For the last 3-4 years, we have seen 99%, if not almost all of the interviews for marriage-based green cards and children, stepchildren of those marriages who are applying for green cards have their applications approved without going to an interview. Now, that policy was an interview waiver policy, is what it was called, and that is going to end now, is the word that we've gotten. So moving forward, they will be scheduling every marriage-based green card application for an interview, and any children who are getting their green card through that marriage, they're also, such as stepchildren, are going to be called in for interviews. So I practiced during the Trump administration, the first one, and I went to literally probably upwards of 200 interviews that were for this purpose, the green card interviews, where they would ask questions about the marriage. They would go over every, officer was different. Some were very thorough and wanted to ask a lot of questions, and some officers were a little bit more easygoing and just wanted to highlight the most important things, and if there was a lot of documents submitted that established that they were in a real marriage, such as like they had children together, they'd been married for a long time, and other factors. Basically, when they were convinced through the documents, they wouldn't go through a lot of questioning. But so it's very important still to, when you're filing these applications, that you file a lot of good documents, because it will most likely affect the officer's decision on how to approach the interview with asking a lot of questions or not. If there is marriage fraud suspected, or they're just not convinced it's a new marriage and there's just not that many good documents, then they can even separate you during the interview. They can ask a series of questions from one of the spouses, and then have the other spouse exit that room and then come back and literally ask the same exact questions and see if those answers match, from things like what side of the bed do you sleep on, how many rooms are in the apartment, what color is the toothbrush, what did you have last night for dinner, anything, basically very detailed stuff. Obviously, these are things that I go over when clients hire me, and this is not, an attorney advice, but those are the types of questions they can ask, and I've seen them ask. And so if you don't you don't match your answers, you could be suspected of marriage fraud. So these are things that are gonna come back. So I wanted to just give some tips though. When I did these interviews, what I basically would do, you file the application, now you've been scheduled for the interview, and we would prepare them before the interview. And some of the tips that I would give are the following. I would say, listen closely to the questions that they're asking. Make sure you understand the question before you respond. People are naturally really nervous, and depending on the officer, some of them make people feel nervous, whether it's their appearance or the way they behave, or their tone sometimes can be offsetting. Obviously, they're human beings too, and they're sometimes having a bad day, or some of them, quite frankly, are just, they have that kind of personality. So on top of that, the person is just nervous. They are listening to the news, they're hearing all this stuff that's going on, and they're just nervous. They want to get their green card. So they oftentimes don't listen close to the question, and they can make the interview really go, a lot more difficult than it, and not as smoothly as it should. So you want to listen close to the questions. You want to make sure you understand the question before you answer. If it's a yes or no question, just answer yes or no. Don't follow up with another sentence. If it's not a yes or no question, it's just a question that's asking you for more information, then you want to just keep your answers simple, concise, short. 1 to 2, 3 sentences can answer any question. If the officer wants more information, they'll ask you another question, a follow-up question. So this keeps the interview kind of going smoothly. You want to let the officer be in control. You don't want to put your foot in your mouth, and say too much. It's just not necessary. You can answer every question with 1 to 2, 3 sentences at most. Especially if you have like a history, like where you've had an arrest or a conviction, they're going to ask you questions about that. So it's really important you follow this, short responses, understand the questions. Where if you have maybe some kind of immigration history issue, you overstayed a visa, you worked without permission, just a number of different things, maybe your travel history, it becomes even more important to be prepared for those interviews. Basically, somebody who should have their application approved very quickly and easily can sometimes have their delays in their application processing because of how they approach the interview. So with that said, some other things that I would say is that, if you are using an interpreter, make sure you're using a good interpreter. Make sure that you allow for the interpreter to interpret fully before you start responding. And just be on the lookout for more updates. There was a anticipation that some of these applications that have already been filed and that have been mostly adjudicated, that they may not be scheduled for interview, but everybody should be expecting moving forward to be called in for an interview if you have a marriage-based green card. If you do need assistance, of course, you can reach me at rodarmandelaw.com, and I hope you guys have a good day and stay tuned for the next update. Take care.